Now it's time for game 2 between Incars and Lenorm. I don't know if you guys will see much of a dip in quality, honestly, because of YouTube's artifacting, but currently experiencing some PC issues, which has caused me to drop from 4K to 1080, which feels a little bit bad, but soon we shall be upgraded and all shall be well. But anyway, back to the game here. Yeah, it's game 2 between these two excellent players. This is, of course, the Chieftain playoffs of the Vermin League. And we've got the best possible matchup for the Dread Saurian, that being the Warriors of Chaos. Historically, and even to this day, they really don't have anything that can stand against the Dread Saurian in melee, especially when it's well supported, which, yeah, Lenorm seems to have some very great support here. A couple of red-crested skinks, including the ROR, but even better, Cold One Spear Riders. We've got 4 of them. Skink cohorts as a screen up front, and some skink skirmishers to help also screen with their ranged attacks. As for Inkar's Warriors of Chaos here, we've got Sartorial the Everwatcher, some Marauders as a front line, and looks like a couple of elite cavalry here. Knights of the Brazen Throne, Skull Crushers, and the Rotting Riders, Rot Knights, of course. Hellstriders on the flanks, and a couple of Chaos Warriors halberds mixed in there as well. So a little bit thin compared to this Lizardmen build, which is somehow both quite wide and quite tall, bringing in one of the most elite monsters in the game, some really strong mid-tier anti-cavalry, and lots of chaff, of course. Really like the skink skirmishers to help pad out numbers and give it a little bit of range support here, a little bit of poison overwatch. Marauder horsemen circling around this way. They do have a relatively limited amount of ammunition, which has always been part of the calculus in this matchup as this engagement gets underway. We've got the Rotting Riders plowing through. Skinks trying to get into the second line, but they're going to get countercharged here by multiple units of Cold One Spear Riders. They also get hit by the Blood Statue of Spite from the Slawn of Life there. But yeah, they just aren't going to have enough ammunition unless they're really conserving, but especially with just 2 units of throwing axes, you're not going to have enough ammunition to get through the health of the Dread Saurian while it's being healed by the Slawn, so Slawn does unleash a banishment there. We've got an upgrade with Final Transmutation. I might have put that on the Slawn instead. They do have a little bit of ward save currently from the Shield of the Old Ones, but yeah, you gotta take out that healer first. Thankfully for Incars, kind of runs into the area of effect a little bit there, but Slawn has taken some damage from Sartorial in melee, but the big Chungus lizard shows up. Meanwhile, on the far side, the halberds and the Knights of the Brazen Throne are putting in some pretty decent work. We'll check in with them in just a moment as Big Bird manages to scoot behind and outmaneuver the Dread Saurian. Should be able to pop back up into the air. Rotting Riders kind of get away from that bad engagement momentarily. But the Cohort of Sotek are unbreakable, also have that special cannot die ability activatable. So currently they're doing a really nice job of poisoning and just annoying these elite cavalry with lots of little armor-piercing attacks. And the Marauders, of course, aren't going to do much here. It looks like the Hellstriders really weren't able to stand against the might of the Cold One Spear Riders either, so already things looking a little bit interesting for the Warriors of Chaos, but still plenty of capacity to potentially come back here. Nice Earthblood. Gets a few of these cavalry plus the Dread Saurian there. But Knights of the Brazen Throne continuing to kind of fight back through the woods here, but definitely getting caught up by all this armor-piercing and poison. Very, very hard to get away from. One thing that makes the Lizardmen so potent in a lot of matchups. As an Empire main, I would say definitely is an issue in that matchup as well. Of course, you don't even really need Spear Riders in that matchup. You can kind of get away with using regular ones. But anyway, Rotting Riders struggling to get away here. It looks like they're going to be probably caught and destroyed unless the Knights of the Brazen Throne can come in and support. Looks like the Hellstriders might have sacrificed themselves very nobly at that final second. Rotting Riders are going to turn around and engage on what models they can. Knights of the Brazen Throne actually charge towards the front line here. They're going to use the trees for cover somewhat as they're fighting that Cohort of Sotek, but of course they're unbreakable, right? The Skink Slayers, essentially, just without the anti-large. Knights of the Brazen Throne looking absolutely fabulous as they're doing it. They're going to have to get away here. Little Overcast Searing Doom does some pretty good damage to multi-model targets, but at this point, I mean, the Dread Saurian is still over 13,000 HP, and the Warriors of Chaos are definitely struggling to put out enough meaningful damage to even get to him, let alone start to damage him. But going after that Slon here a little bit more, Marauder Horsemen and the Rotting Riders kind of dive in, going to do what they can. Sartorial also running around doing whatever he can, but at this point it's super risky for him to dive down. Skink Overwatch, plus, you know, he's starting to get a little bit tired, means he can't really get away from the Cold One Spear Riders very effectively. They're able to just keep up with him and continue getting attacks there. Looks like we had some Marauders briefly rally, and the Chaos Warriors Halberds, I'm pretty sure, also just did completely nothing here. Yeah. Literally got exploded and routed without really getting any value. So it is a little bit of the mid-tier infantry dilemma. So many things that kill them, especially when you're putting together a build like this. Might have been more beneficial to just have more Marauders, maybe. Even Marauders' great weapons can kind of support. And they'll actually trade pretty cost-effectively against the Cold One Spear Riders, considering how cheap they are. Probably would have been better than having the Halberds, honestly. The trick is, what are you going to do to kill the big thing? And I honestly don't think Inkar's had, like, anything really that can kill a Dread Saurian, and just Warriors of Chaos in general. You don't have a lot of things on your roster that can actually kill a Dread Saurian. They did manage to take down the Slon, which is definitely a start, but you can see how still managed to get upgraded regrowth off during that time. That's going to restore a lot of vigor, a little bit of overhealing as well, but does max the HP back to the Dread Saurian. So yeah, despite Inkar's, you know, playing pretty well in this late game, doing basically what he should, able to take down the Slon, it's just the Saurian is too much at that point. So yeah, I don't know. Given how little the Chaos Warriors Halberds actually did, I guess one of them did some okay value. This is also before the Bearmen were banned from the Warriors of Chaos. This has been ongoing for some time, but anyway, yeah, the Hellstriders are decent here. I kind of see why you would take them, but at the same time, I don't know. They'll trade well into a lot of things, but the Lizardmen Cavalry, all of them are going to pay for themselves for Lenorm here. And just great to support the Dread Saurian. The Dread Saurian itself didn't really have to do that much damage. Did a pretty good amount of damage. Also ended with full HP, which is fantastic. Yeah, I think had Inkar's thrown that initial final transmutation on the Slon, like, right at the start, and if he was able to snipe the Slon earlier, might have been beneficial, but even then, he's still going to have to get through all these cavalry plus the Saurian, which, yeah, just kind of struggled to. The elite cavalry, both the regiments have now got respectable value, but considering how expensive they are, they actually didn't pay for themselves. Throwing axes, again, did decently well, but yeah, I probably just swap these two Halberds out for just Great Weapon Marauders, honestly. And of course, the Bearmen, this guy, swap him out for a Great Weapon Marauder as well. Of course, you know, hindsight's 20/20, but that will give you a little bit better support against Lizardmen Cavalry, and, you know, you can still run down skinks with those Marauders. You're going to have other answers for the big heavy monsters, so, like, keeping these Rot Knights in reserve, maybe countercharging a little bit on the Cold One Spear Riders, but mostly just going after the Slon first, then the Dread Saurian. Definitely would be a way to potentially try and break through this. It's tricky for sure, but Sartorial, excellent performance from him. Really great lord, to be honest. But yeah, just talking through this a little bit more. You do have, let's see here. Yeah, you've got a lot of monsters. There's a whole bunch of stuff in this category, and none of it can hold a candle to the Dread Saurian, really. Yeah, I mean, you don't even have access to something like Ettins, which might help you here. I guess you could try and do some cheeky, like, double giant shenanigans, but giants are just so vulnerable to shooting of Lizardmen. Even, I don't know, Skink Skirmishers aren't that high of DPS. It's possible you could just tank through them, but then, you know, how do you support against, you know, cavalry? Like I said, these Marauders, great weapons. It's not like individually one-on-one they'll beat the Cold One Spear Riders necessarily, but they just trade decently effectively. And this might be a little bit too much infantry, honestly. Maybe something like that's a little bit safer. And then, yeah, of course, Sartorial, really excellent choice here. Final Transmutation, little Searing Doom, Great Arcane Conduit. Yeah, we'll come back and see. Maybe Rock of Inevitability or Standard Die might be nice to have. That melee defense debuff on Rock of Inevitability is pretty good, given its AoE, but I don't know if we necessarily want to build around that. But yeah, something like this. Come in, grab some Marauder Horsemen. Yeah, need some cavalry of our own, so there's definitely the 2 elites, which I am missing currently. Knights of the Brazen Throne, and if we add in the Rot Knights, take off a couple Marauder Horsemen, something like this, I don't know, it feels a little bit janky. It still also feels pretty thin. Maybe, just maybe changing out the elite cavalry for something else. It's hard to say, really, and this is definitely a dilemma you run into in this matchup. It's like, you know, how am I going to kill that thing? How am I going to kill that Dread Saurian? And I'm not even confident that the 2 giants would do it, to be honest. Unless they were able to fight together consistently, which is not going to be guaranteed, certainly. You guys will have to let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification. Every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.